Hello, denizens of the internet, and welcome back to the Hideout. Today we'll be touching back into the world of Pokemon and gym leaders being the obstacles, or lack thereof, to becoming a Pokemon champion. Here are our picks for the top 10 weakest gym leaders. Starting us out at number 10, we have Byron, the Canalave City gym leader, and on initial appearances he wouldn't seem worthy of a spot on this list. Being the father of the first leader in the Sinnoh region, you would expect a certain level of competence or strength versus his son. Focusing on a defensive aspect of his steel types seems like a good direction to go, but his choices are less than optimal. Starting with the first version differences for his first Pokemon Bronzor, the unevolved and frail steel psychic type, and Magneton, the specially offensive glass cannon. Bronzor's stats just do not have enough heft to keep up with the battles this late in the game, and as for Magneton, it's the exact opposite. Having the stats to back itself up, but not a proper ability or method to avoid a hit from the 4 times ground weaknesses it holds. His second, Steelix, shows promise with a bulky defensive build and decent offensive powers in Earthquake, Ice Fang, and Gyro Ball, but falls short to any form of special attack. Finally, his ace, Bastiodon, has the same flawed problem as Magneton, but is significantly slower. Coming in at number 9 is the hot-headed rocker Roxie of Burbank City. Being one of the very few poison gyms, you'd expect some sort of gimmick or strategy to be employed here to give her some sort of advantage versus the player. And Venoshock is supposed to do just that. A nasty poison move with a 65 base power that doubles if its target is poisoned sure would be a fantastic thing to be employed in an early gym to create a tough battle. If her Pokemon had a more reliable way of poisoning the player's team. She relies on a small percent chance that accompanies the far less powerful Smog, with only a 20% chance of her coughing to set up for the ace to sweep in. Her other Pokemon, Whirlipede, instead has 2 methods to set up the same conditions with its ability Poison Point and the move Poison Sting with a 30 and 40% chance respectively. All of this is great, if not completely overshadowed by the fact that there is a reliable place to catch the Steel-type Magnemite within her own city, making her entire poisoning gimmick worthless and having no countermeasures against it. And possibly one of the greatest decisions ever made in the Pokemon world, we have number 8. Cinnabar Island's leader Blaine decided to set up a fire-type gym on an island surrounded by water types that requires the use of one of the most powerful physical water-type attacks in the game to get to. He attempts to make up for this by using the status conditions like Ninetales Confuse Ray or hoping the burn chance from Arcanine. But a lot of good Rapidash is going to do for you as the 7th gym leader when the strongest moves are Stomp and Fire Spin, while he himself is no pushover, boasting an array of high-stat fire Pokemon. It's not until the 2nd generation that he has the moves to back them up. Unfortunately, by then, it's far too late, and the player can easily overwhelm them with Pokemon that are far over-leveled for the leader to defend against. Cilan, Chili, and Cress, the unique trio of leaders heading up Entry 7, the Striation City Gym. Black and White seem to hold the hands of its players an absurd amount, but no example of this is greater than the first gym. This gym was intended to be a direct challenge to teach new players about the importance of type advantages in the game, with the leader rotating between 3 brothers to take the type advantage over the other player's starter Pokemon. Putting aside the Lillipup that they all share, the significance of this battle comes from their elemental monkeys, Pansear, Panpour, and Pansage, who would normally be a hefty first obstacle in the game. That is, if not for the NPC in a nearby area that is required to clear before the gym. After speaking to her, she gifts whichever monkey would oppose the gym leaders, easily swapping the advantage back to the player. Securing our spot at number 6 is the grass-wielding Elder Ramos of Cormarine City. Grass types themselves have a hard time holding their own with 5 different weaknesses, but a trainer with an abundance of experience could surely overcome such a debilitating disadvantage, right? This leader specifically chose the finest plants to adorn his team, which seems to be a group with disappointingly low stats or unevolved with wasted potential. The significant threats being his frail Jumpluff and Weepinbell with the chlorophyll ability to turn them into blindingly fast whirl of grass attacks, but no way to activate it. The 3rd and ace of his team is a bulky-looking Go-Goat with a direct counter to fire, but again too slow to make any good use of it. In most cases, trainers can bring any one of the easily countering types to outspeed the entire team, putting them down before any serious damage can be done. High-flying FALKNER, the first leader of the Johto game series, enters our list at number 5 and has a type that presents a legitimate challenge to one of the 3 starter types. This advantage is negated by the fact that for some reason he has Pokemon of the same level range of his gym trainers, meaning that any one of them could have been the gym leader and no one would have batted an eye. An error that was corrected in the Heart Gold and Soul Silver remakes. However, in both versions, the nearby Dark Cave area offers type advantage in the form of Geodude with a powerful Stab Rock throw. That aside, his team is made of only 2 Pokemon, a Pidgey and Pidgeotto, with only a single flying move between the 2 of them. As well as the Pidgeotto itself being an impossibility, being level 9 or 13 in the remakes, when Pidgey evolves at level 18, leaving it devoid of the moves or stats needed to properly do its job. Another shining example of experience not necessarily making the difference is price. For number 4, he has some pretty glaring holes in both setup and execution of his team. Not a single water move between his Seel and Dugong to oppose the obvious choice of fire types being brought into the gym. Challenge seems dependent on the ability to stall using hail weather conditions alongside Rest and Snowcloak to turn the battle into a battle of attrition. To make matters worse, the only member of his team that is as strong as the previous gym leader is his ace, Pillowswine, still 4 levels lower than Jasmine Steelix. This raises the question if he was originally meant to be battled before her and they were swapped without adjustment. Regardless, the previous gym leaves the player at a level that could take the same momentum and burn right through them with no issues. Number 3. Unlike her fashion sense, Laverre City's Valerie can only be described in one word: basic. Missing some, the only thing she had going for her was that fairy type was new and different. The developers didn't give her an edge or gimmick because fairy was an unexpected wildcard at the time. Unfortunately, that left her feeling very bland as a gym leader, not much separating her from the other trainers at her gym. Her team felt very focused on the defensive aspect, attempting to set up in every stage of the fight with things like Iron Defense and Reflect so that Sylveon could come in and blow us away with Dazzling Gleam. In typical Pokemon fashion, the game had taken players right through a large route that exploits and exposes her weakness directly, giving out options of Poison and Steel to shut her down. All these things separately would have not been a problem, but together they turned poor Valerie into nothing more than a speed bump in your Kalos adventure. An entry from Johto's own Azalea Town, number 2, Bugsy. The passion this man feels about his precious bugs was just done dirty by the developers, showing that at this point in the series, it was far too early to have a bug gain representation in a gym. With so few options at this level, Bugsy's team is mostly cocooned and helpless, leaving his only threat to be the Scyther that he opens the battle with. On its own, Scyther could be a hazard, but is ruined by the fickle nature of RNG move selection, destroying its opportunity to build the power of Fury Cutter. Even in the remakes, he doesn't fare any better, replacing Fury Cutter with an objectively better option of U-turn, without anything threatening to change to. Leaves a disappointing battle and an easily claimed badge. And finally, at number 1, the old-fashioned punk with a good heart, Piers, is both the leader of Spikemuth Gym as well as the leader of the misguided Team Yell. Does not take advantage of the special hidden ability of his Malmar, contrary which inverts any stat changes that the Pokemon would experience. With access to moves like Superpower, which would normally drop both attack and defense of the user, as well as Psycho Cut and Night Slash, 2 moves that would both benefit from the stab bonus as well as their high critical ratio, this Pokemon was severely wasted. No direct glaring weaknesses from the team as a whole, however, 3 of his 4 team members do each carry a devastating 4 times weakness to Bug, Fighting, and Fairy, leaving them open to getting taken down in just a single shot. On top of which, he is the only gym leader in Galar that refuses to use Dynamax and Gigantamax to boost his power, yet for some reason is considered good enough to hold the 7th badge slot for the region. And there are our picks for the top 10 easiest gym leaders in all of Pokemon. What did you think? Who do you think should be on the list? Tell us about them down in the comments below, along with what you'd like to see in the future. We always love suggestions for videos. And we'll see you next time.